Hi friends, it's Chrissy from Knitting in the Heights, coming to you on December the 10th. So it's been an eventful couple of days here with illness. So Gabriel was sent home, as I had posted earlier in the week, with a fever on Thursday. I think it was Thursday. Given I haven't been working, it's hard for me to keep the day straight. He has had a really rough go of it. So we ended up that same night in the ER because he wasn't drinking any fluids. And his fever was pretty high, so I was really concerned about that. So they gave him some anti-nausea medicine, and that seemed to help for a little bit, and they sent us home. Yesterday, he was drinking. He drank some water. That was kind of tricky to get him to drink, but he did drink some water, and he wasn't really eating, though. The doctor had said, don't worry about his eating. As long as he's drinking, it's okay. So he was drinking a little bit of water. He drank about a bottle of water in total yesterday. And maybe had a couple of bites of food. But again, the doctors were like, don't worry about it. That's normal with this kind of thing for little kids. His fever was still over 100 yesterday. In the middle of the night, he woke me up. It was like 5 a.m. or something. And he said that he basically was throwing up whatever was in his stomach, which was just water and stomach acid. So I got him settled for a little bit because I was so out of it, because I'm still, again, recovering from COVID, and exhaustion is real, even though I'm getting a lot of sleep. He rested in bed for a little bit. He was able to go to sleep. Then I woke him up around 9:30. So we had both slept for like another 4 hours or so. I woke him up and I gave him some water to drink, and he promptly could not keep that down at all. So at that stage, I knew we needed to go back to the emergency room. So we went in and they gave him the same anti-nausea medicine they gave him before. And he was able to drink some apple juice and suck on a lemon. Apparently that is something to do. Something you can do with kiddos is have them suck on a lemon. He likes lemons, so that's lucky. So now his fever is basically gone at this stage, which is lucky. So we are just going to see if we can get him to recover. He just ate. We got discharged less than an hour ago. I tried to get him his prescription for the anti-nausea medicine filled, but New York City being what it is, the Rite Aid pharmacy, which you would think would be open of all the pharmacies, the mom and pop stores, you understand why they're closed, but the Rite Aid pharmacy is closed on Saturday afternoon and will likely be closed tomorrow as well. So I'm really hoping he is going to just bounce back. He was able to eat most of a piece of toast, and he did eat his Advent chocolate, no problem. He also asked for some other food. And at this stage, if he wants to eat something, I'm not going to say no. So he's going to take it slow. I'm going to make sure he hydrates. Yeah, so trying to get him to drink some water or something. I may have to get some apple juice delivered or something that he'll drink. But yeah, that's what we're doing. I'm feeling better in general. I'm just really, really tired. So I'm just going to continue to rest for the next couple days. I've been knitting on my botanic shawl, and I will show you that in a little bit. Well, hello friends. I've just finished eating lunch. I had some leftover turkey tetrazzini that I had frozen, popped it in the oven. It was mighty filling and mighty tasty, but exactly what I needed after a crazy morning. So I thought I'd show you some knitting, since there's not much other content I can really give you at this time. So I've been working on the Botanic Shawl by Stephen West. It's going to be a present for my dad's girlfriend. And I've actually made quite a bit of progress, but I'm at this stage now, and I don't know if you've ever felt this, where you're finally like, if I knit another stitch on this, I'm going to scream. I need a break from it. I need to do something else. So I'm going to show it to you. Last night I kind of felt this way yesterday, and then I started watching, I hadn't seen Enola Holmes, the second Enola Holmes movie on Netflix, and I really enjoyed that, by the way. Henry Cavill is absolutely adorable. He's a great Sherlock Holmes. But anyway, Bobby Brown is actually really great in it as well. So I highly recommend if you're looking for something that is engaging enough that even the knits that you don't want to knit on become fine to knit on. Yeah, I did several rows, but I thought I'd show you my progress. So I'm sure everybody gets, this is why people cast on so many things. I've really been fighting with myself to not cast on a sweater or something, or another pair of socks, or I'm just really trying very hard to be a good human and finish what I've started. So anyhow, enough talk. So here it is in all its glory. It's kind of hard to show, but if you take a look, I mean, it has grown immensely. So at the start of Vlogmas, when I started knitting on this, I was way down here on that row. The last time I showed you, I was here. And since then, I have knit 32 rows. Yeah. And I've gotten through a whole other repeat. I'm about to start another repeat. And if I remember right, there's 19 repeats, and I have knit. So I'm like at the 15th thing, basically. And maybe there's 20. I can't remember. Anyway, I'm getting there. But I would need something that I haven't seen before that's like really engaging for me to be able to knit on this. So what I've decided to do is, at least for now, I'm going to take a bit of a hiatus, and I am taking out my Nalu mitts today because I have a little bit more brain power, although COVID brain really is still a thing. So I have already finished the first mitt. It's hard to see, but you can see it's cabled. It's really tiny. So, I mean, if I could get a couple of repeats of the cable pattern today, that'd make me happy. So I have, the cuff is done. I just need to start knitting the rest of it. And how it's housed in a very pretty Craft House Magic bag that Ellie made for me. This was part of the gift that she picked out for my kiddos. Actually, Colleen picked this specific bag out. I let Colleen choose. So I knew this one was coming. The yarn was all a surprise. So yeah, that's my knitting plan for today. I'm going to find something great to watch. If not, I'll watch a ton of if I don't find a movie I want to watch, I'll watch a ton of Vlogmases. I have been watching some, great old movies. So I recently watched Miracle on 34th Street. I started watching Christmas Story with Gabriel because he really does like that movie. He thinks it's really funny, but he can only handle so much at a time, especially since he's not feeling 100% right now. So we'll probably watch that, a little bit of that tonight. And we've watched the Charlie Brown Christmas special a couple times now. So yeah, so I'm just going to sit and knit, I think, for the majority of the day, rest up. I'm feeling a little bit congested, very tired. That's the biggest thing, is the exhaustion that's coming with all of this. I mean, I got plenty of sleep last night, but I'm still really tired. It feels like I haven't really slept. And I think all the stress and worry about Gabe being sick is not helping. So I'm hoping he's turning a corner. He really did just eat a bunch of food. So given he hasn't been eating, that makes me very, very happy. So we're going to see how he does. And hopefully his stomach will be okay. All right. I'll check in with you later. Well, friends, I think I have enough energy to try some baking tonight. So I'm going to make some sweet rolls. I have lots of almonds and some dried cherries. And so I'm going to follow a sweet roll recipe that a lot of people use to make cinnamon rolls or sticky buns, things like that. But I'm going to, instead of cinnamon, because I can't have cinnamon, I'm going to actually chop up, using a food processor, a bunch of almonds. And I'm going to chop up some dried cherries. And I think that would be a really tasty filling to kind of a sweet roll recipe. So let's see what I do. So I checked to make sure I have enough flour. That was the one thing I was worried about. So it is 4 cups of flour. I'll put the basic sweet roll recipe in the description box below. And yeah, we can follow along as I try to make this thing. So here's my take on this. I have buttered the bottom of a pie plate and added a bunch, like probably a cup of chopped almonds. I sprinkled sugar, white sugar, liberally, by the way, on the butter. So there's like it's about a quarter of a cup of butter, maybe a little bit less. So I sprinkled, there's like a cup of chopped almonds and then a bunch of dried cherries. I didn't measure. Then I did take a tablespoon of corn syrup, light corn syrup, and I placed it on there. And I'm about to make my dough. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the dough as the recipe indicates. I'm going to place just buns, like round buns on top of this mixture. And so this is kind of a take on the sticky buns mixture of what you need on the bottom, but I'm slightly adapting it. And I'm going to put a tiny bit of vanilla in the roll recipe. We're making things up as we go along, y'all. So anyway, let me show you what I got so far. So this is what the mixture looks like. This is totally a science experiment. I need to add eggs and the yeast and milk and sugar mixture to this. I'm gonna knead this mixture with my hands. I don't have my stand mixer is still in Virginia. And then I'm gonna let that rise. And once it's risen, it will go in an oven and we'll see what comes out. I think it'll be pretty tasty. It should be fun. So I added a little bit more sugar and butter. And our dough is almost to the point where it is almost an hour in the rising. It's in a rich dough, so it's not rising a ton, but that's okay. Got the oven on. So we'll be putting in the rolls after they've risen for a second time. Okay, so I'm leaving these guys to rise for about 20 minutes. There's all sorts of buttery, nutty, and cherry goodness. I have the oven on at this point, one to help everything rise. It's actually not warm enough in here for this rich dough to rise very much, so I'm trying to encourage the rise and also to preheat the oven. So should be some yummy goodness. So as I'm baking, I have been also working on my Nalu mitts. I've gotten through one repeat. Wait, I'm trying to get all the extra needles. One repeat of the cable pattern. And I think I'm going to stop there on that tonight. I have found something to watch that I am really enjoying. And the cable pattern kind of requires me to have the pattern open the whole time. So it's hard for me to watch something without stopping. So, yeah, so we're going to watch Wednesday on Netflix. And with that, I can definitely knit on my shawl, on my botanic shawl. Okay, so I think we are golden brown enough. I'm going to try to put one of these guys into a dish. Well, it doesn't look all that pretty, but let's see. It's probably really hot. The taste is fine. It's a bit dense. I don't think it rose enough. So, rich doughs are notoriously tricky. But, I mean, it tastes good. I think it needs a lot more something to make the sticky roll part of it. Anyway, it's tasty. It's a sweet roll. So I'll be eating this and watching some Wednesday and doing some knitting. Have a great day, everybody. I'll talk to you later. Bye.